Ixie, previously you've said don't judge us on wins, more judge us on a process. Do you feel, given where you've gone in the last couple of weeks and the expectation around how well you're playing now, that this is just a must-win game for your club?
I guess my view hasn't changed on how to judge us. Judge us on how we play and what sort of product we put out on the field. And we put out a great product the last couple of weeks, as we did for 3 quarters v Sydney. So I'd still stay in that space. You know, back us for the entertainment we're putting out there and the way we play our footy. And if we can do that consistently, the result looks after itself. So it was really pleasing, you know, the last couple of weeks for us to get a reward for consistency, a reward for the way we're playing our footy, and especially on the stage that we were on last week.
And good to be boosted, obviously, by Tommy and Riley.
Yeah, nice to have Tom. We've given Tom a couple of weeks. You know, he was bruised and battered, and he's up and fresh and ready to go. So part of that plan was to get him right so he could perform at his best, and hopefully he can come in and finish off really strongly. And then Riley coming back in. We lost Riley, if you remember, in a training session with an ankle. We took no risk with that. The second week of that was a little bit of soreness again, and we didn't want to take a risk, but he got himself right and played well at sample level. So, yeah, pleased to have him back in, and the side are looking to, again, perform like we did the last few weeks.
So you've got a taller lineup with Duday coming in, and Worrell's obviously kept his spot, but both of those can play on smaller guys as well.
Yeah, that'll be our challenge. We are a little taller than usual. Conditions are probably going to be a little wet. But we do have some guys who can play, you know, both tall and small. Tommy's shown in the past he can do that. Worrell can do the same. Brodie, Paddy Parnell. So we still have a good balance, a good mix behind the footy, but a little taller than what we normally are.
How impressed have you been with Worrell? His first 2 games, obviously, come in straight away and performed.
I missed the start of your question.
Sorry, how impressed have you been with Worrell? Obviously had to bide his time for quite a while and come straight in and look much.
Yeah, more pleased than impressed. I mean, we've been impressed with what Josh has been able to do at sample level consistently, and that's been 12 months of work. He had a look at AFL level last year, came away and learnt a lot. You know, was really complimentary on the experience. Went to work in the off season, in the gym, off field, on his professionalism, and so probably more pleased to see that he's now getting some reward for that. And it's a big step up. So he's played some great footy in the last couple of weeks. Been a really important part of that back line. Especially his first game, I thought he was, there were a number of times he was exposed one-on-one and he got the job done, which has been an area he's worked on now for 12 months. So, yeah, really pleased.
I think Aaron Hall had about 7,000 metres gained against you the last time you played him. Do you send Ben Keys to him like you've done the last couple of weeks?
Well, we won't give too much away about what we will do this time out, but he did impact the game in a big way last time we played against him. They like to use the ball off of that half-back line. They do that really well. At the moment, it looks like they've got some really good cohesion in their group. They're playing with some freedom and taking the game on. So we know our challenge. And last time we had a hit out, which wasn't that long ago. We don't get that chance that often to play a team twice in such a short period of time. But we know we're going to have our work cut out. Because last time we really did come and play. That was one of our really strong efforts. I think we were plus 29 or thereabouts in tackle that game. And we're going to have to do that again because I think they're in some really good form at the moment, although, both of us aren't necessarily ticking the wins off. They look like they're playing some good footy.
What was your reaction last night when the team sheets come through and Jason Horne-Francis is omitted?
Same as every week, guys. They're ins and outs, so no different.
In terms of
Cunnington, obviously they'll have that extra added element. You'd expect them to perhaps be a bit more fired up and emotionally involved.
Yeah, and so they should be. What an incredible effort. Inspirational for them. It's similar to last week in that there was some inspiration and some, I guess, a bit of passion that came out with West Coast playing for Josh Kennedy. We have an expectation that North Melbourne will get up and play for one of the legends of their club, who's been doing it tough and has done an amazing job to get himself back in footy. So another big challenge for us to make sure that we meet that and we match that. it's going to be an interesting end to the season for us because this is a big challenge and we probably expect one the week after.
Is it hard for your ears not to prick up, just back to Matt's question a little bit, when there's a highly rated South Australian who's maybe not getting a game and there's talk about him, potentially wanting to come home? Is it, as someone who's tried to create a bit of a destination club, is it hard not to read a little bit into that?
Oh, look, it's like anything. We're always looking at how do we improve. We look at, we've said we target South Australians, but at the same time, this is no different to anything else. We'll continue to work on our list management strategies. We don't take any notice of what the team we're playing this week are doing. We look at the ins that come in because that's what we've got to come up against.
Have you seen him up close, Matt?
Sorry?
Have you seen him up close, Jason?
I've seen him play at SANFL level. Yeah, I mean, we played against, obviously, South Adelaide when he was there.
Have you been impressed with what he's been able to do? I mean, you've got Josh Rochelle.
Again, we're trying to find a way for me to talk about Jason.
No, it's more just with Josh Rochelle, he's a young kid who's come in and taken the competition by storm in his first couple of games, and then he sort of tailed off. I was just going to ask about some of the challenges that you've had to deal with your young guys. Obviously, like Jason's gone through some ups and downs as well. With some of your highly rated picks, what are some of the challenges they've faced?
I think every young talented player that comes in, the step that it is to go from the lower level to AFL is huge, and so most are challenged by that for different reasons. We found Josh when he came in, he was like a duck to water at AFL level. The game suited him and he played at the level. Now the challenge for Josh has been to just keep the body and get the body right, and over a long career you learn a lot, and so he's at the early stages of his career. We're confident he has the game to play at AFL level. It's now just getting the body right. So everyone has different challenges. With
Rowe, he's amongst your emergencies this week. Do you want to see him again at West Lakes next year?
Yeah, we'd love to see Rowe here. Rowe's played a fair bit of footy at AFL level this year and sort of spent a little bit of time back at SANFL. He's played some really strong games for us at AFL level. It's been an important part of that forward line. At the moment, he's not in that mix of 6 or 7 forwards, but that's something we'll have to look at the end of the year, and make decisions around the list and where that sits.
What about Elliot Himmelberg?
Again, another one who we'd be really keen. I can say it openly. I'd love to keep all 44 of our players. I feel like our list at the moment. I've mentioned it during the year. We're playing some strong footy at AFL level where, we are a really hard team to play against. At SANFL level, we're showing not only are we hard to play against, but we're getting results. So that's been really pleasing. And so, if we can keep a group together, that would be fantastic. But what we know is you've got to continue to evolve. You've got to continue to look at the draft and use the draft, look at acquisition. And so we'll need to do that over the coming months. That does make it hard to keep all 44 if you're going to bring some more in.
How's Will Hamill tracking?
Will's recovered really well. We won't take a risk with Will. Obviously, his history of concussion is concerning, and it's something that we'll continue to work with him and his family on, and we'll take no risk with that. So he won't play for the remainder of the year, the 2 games that are left. Obviously, he wouldn't have played this week through concussion protocols, but we won't be rushing him back. But he has pulled up really well. It was one where immediately afterwards he was feeling okay. Later that night was feeling great. So at the moment for him, it's probably more frustration for Will. It was one of those on the weekend. It was one of those incidents where it's pretty hard for him to avoid that. The way he plays his footy, puts his body on the line for his teammates, and takes contact. So we'll continue to monitor him though closely.
What can he? I think it's maybe 1 concussion every 6 games. What can he do, or what can you as a club do to stop that happening?
Well, I can tell you he's already working, and we as a club are already doing a lot of work in that space. This is a player who this is not. Oh, okay, we need to have a look at this. We've been on this for a long period of time. Will's done some fantastic work on strengthening himself in around his neck, and so I could talk through a lot of detail that we've gone through. We've made sure we've kept on top of this, with his family and with Will around how he plays his footy. Where can we try and avoid it? But as I said, there are moments in games where sometimes it's unavoidable. It's a collision where players play a certain way. for a 70-kilo player, he likes to throw himself into a contest. That's going to be a challenge for him. It's a contact sport, but we'll continue to work on it and look at it because it's an area that we're putting a lot of time into as a code and as a footy club.
I know you've said on record that you're super keen to have Matt Crouch here next year. How do you incentivise a guy who's not in the team at the moment? How do you make that sales pitch, I guess, as someone who's struggling to break into the AFL team?
Yeah, well, similar to the way we do it with every player at the moment that's pushing for selection. We talk about form, we talk about values that we play to. On the weekend, there are a number of guys that played some fantastic footy at a SANFL level. Matty was one of those. And they're all knocking on the door to play at AFL level. It's the really positive position we're in at the moment, is to have that pressure from below and still be performing at AFL level and not only performing the way we want to perform to our values, but actually getting results as well off the back of it. So at the moment, it's ongoing discussions with all the individuals, with the group around where our team sets. We sit down as a team and we talk selection, why we've made certain changes, what we expect from players. Sometimes we don't expect more. We just want them to consistently bring their game. And we're in that position at the moment. It's quite challenging. It is tough. But we'd like to try and stay that way going forward, to be honest.
So what does Matt get told this week, Nick? I know previously you've said form, you'd like to see him at his best, at his damaging best. He had that patch, he had 40 touches 2 weeks in a row. I think he was close to that on the weekend, if not got it. If he's gathering that much of the ball, perhaps you want to see something different to what we see in form, but what do you tell him about why he's not in the team?
I'll openly talk about what Matt and I discussed. The weekend was probably the best game he's had to this point. Not around possessions, it's around what we're working on as a team. We play a certain style of footy and he's adapting and working his game to that. I asked him for no more than what he gave last weekend and said, mate, this is where we sit. We've got a team performing, we've got a midfield that are performing well, you're performing well, just keep that pressure on for us. He's in our emergencies. If something does go wrong, Matt comes into the side at this point, if it's through that midfield area. And if it's somewhere else, we have other emergencies set for that as well. So it's the same, as I said, it's the conversation that's had with other players, with Rowe, with Himmelberg, with a lot of these guys that are pushing for selection.
Previously you've said Matt's handled it really well. He's been an ultimate professional, given it's been 2 months-ish of him being in and out and around the team. Has he still maintained that level? Yeah,
he has. Yeah, we can't ask for more than what Matty's given. He had a scare with a quad where he missed a week, worked his way back, and as I said, played probably one of the best games he's played last weekend. We can't ask for more.
Do you look at the ladder?
The AFL ladder?
Yeah, or not the ladder that you get your roof on. Yeah, the AFL ladder.
Of course.
Does it make you sort of smile that there could be a situation next week where if results go a certain way, you could end up on the same amount of wins as Port Adelaide?
No, I haven't looked at that yet.
So look at the ladder, but not that closely? No.
We're playing North Melbourne this week. I'll have a glimpse at the ladder every now and then. I think I'd be remiss of me not to. Our goal eventually is to climb that ladder and be fighting it out for finals at this point in time. But we're not doing that this year. We want to finish strong. We want to get momentum into next year. So North Melbourne is where my mindset's at the moment.
I'll ask you next week.
Just back to Will for a moment. A few weeks ago, he spoke with a little bit of youthful exuberance. It almost seemed that it'd be boring if he retired now, and that unless he gets to a Paul Seedsman type stage, he wasn't going to hang them up. Does it get to or is there a point that it could get to for him? And if so, what is that point where those questions need to be considered about his future?
I don't know the point. I don't know where that point's at, and I think there's a fair bit in this that's unknown. But at the moment, our priority is Will's welfare, and it's the same with Paul. And so any decision we make or he makes with our support will be around welfare. We'll continue to look into, obviously, research around concussion, around how it affects people. We don't know everything. We're not experts in that. but it's all about welfare now. But I can't answer that question for you because I don't know the point. But I think all of us are aware and probably cautious around this as far as, which is why we're making the decision over the next 2 weeks that we will not be looking at Will for either of these last 2 games, knowing that he's not available this week, but he will be for the week after. We won't be pushing him into that, and he's on board with that decision.
But as it stands, you expect him to enter pre-season as normal.
At this point, Will's recovered really well, and he's in great spirits. Feels fantastic. No headaches and so on. But at the same time, it's something we'll continue to monitor going forward.
Just when you talk about sort of guys you'd like to have at the club next year, have you had those conversations with players who are out of contract now? Or do you wait till the end of round 23? When does that process start to happen for you?
It's ongoing. Those conversations are had right throughout the year, as early, well, as most recent as this morning. Sitting with individuals and just, we like to be open and honest with where it sits. Makes those conversations easier rather than people sitting in the dark. Some of those are confronting because, as I've said before, the game's designed for lists to continually turn over. I'd love to keep all 44. We're an incredible group of players, but I am open and honest with them around that. Sometimes that's hard, but those conversations are had weekly.
So if you had to tell some players that they're highly likely to not be here next year, is that a fair thing? No,
that's not the language we use. The language is more around at this point we don't have the answer because we actually don't have the answer. There's an important period post the season or post the finals where there's a trade period, there's a delisting period and so on. And we don't know what's going to happen until those final series finish and we see where other clubs sit. And so we aren't able to make decisions at this point around that area.